what one hope of a lot of people in the crypto world is that some of these traditional legacy players can come in and legitimize the space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so ICE, for example, coming in and saying, hey, we're going to create this platform, right? And we're going to kind of put our name, our experience behind this.
Yeah.
How do you think that impacts the space, not only from the development of crypto assets and networks, but then also from the institutional investor's perspective?
Yeah, so I think the ICE announcement is one that I'm still processing. In one way, I do think it's really good because it adds legitimacy to the space. I think particularly Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is that asset that it's been in the market long enough. There's enough data around that investors are starting to get more comfortable with the idea of Bitcoin. So I think that's
It's familiar.
Exactly, right?
Yep.
But also that body of knowledge exists and we now know how to deal with it. Most importantly, you know how to value it and market. I think that's a huge problem we don't really talk about as much. So Bitcoin's starting to feel familiar. And so ICE coming out and saying, look, we're going to enable you to really easily, with a trusted partner that you already can trade with, buy and sell Bitcoin. Like that's material. I think the hard part is once the financial institutions start moving in, they're going to do what they do, right? Like banks got a bank. So people have started talking to me now about the idea of extending leverage on top of Bitcoin. And I'm like, oh,
it's coming.
Shit. That is not going to go over. Like that's the antithesis of why Bitcoin was created. So I do think there's this component. And what I always say is there's the revolution camp, which is where I started out when I got into Bitcoin, like down with the banks, like fuck the institutions. And that's one narrative. And then there's the evolution narrative, which is, hey, we're going to start with something that looks, smells, tastes, feels like what's already happening in the world of institutional finance. And then over time, it will evolve and form to be more reflective of all of the technical capabilities of a blockchain-based asset or cryptocurrency.
Which do you think is more likely to occur today? The revolution or the evolution?
Okay, so here it actually depends on the broader macro environment, which is something I don't think we think about often inside the crypto bubble. If we have another 2008, if we have another Cyprus or another Greece, then I think we're going to go revolution. And the thing I always think about is, are we ready, right? Like when that narrative starts to really accelerate and when people have that impetus, when there's that, what I always think is path dependence, right? So if we stay on the current path, we're going to go evolution. But if there is a massive force that jolts us out of that path, then we're going to go revolution.